What's up, everybody? Welcome to SpeakUp Africa. I am your host, Zaha Speaks. Today, we'll be touching on a topic that is quite hurtful, but it's a conversation we've had across the country for the last couple of months and fronting 2024 to be one of the worst years yet. Today, I have a lovely guest, one of my amazing, phenomenal women that I look up to, and we're going to dive into these numbers and data and importantly, bring into aspects what exactly is going on in this country. My dear guests,
Yes.
tell us who you are, what you do, and we can dive into this conversation.
All right. First of all, thank you for having me here to talk about this very important issue in our country. My name is Patricia Andago. I'm the lead researcher at Odipodev and the lead researcher for the Silencing Women Project, which we'll be talking about today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think bringing into perspective that we're about to look at a very deep facet, and this is femicide. And the country is seeing phenomenal numbers.
Yeah.
And we're looking at 70% of these perpetrators very much reminding us that this is happening at home. But before we dive into that context, I'm looking at it from a tech perspective, in that tech has been utilized in a very big platform, number one, to bring this issue to order. Digital activism is now in play.
Yeah.
Tech accountability has come into play. I mean, what are we doing when we're having these killers speak about how they want to kill in social media platforms? What does protection look like? How has tech been important for you in just bringing this data up, and what do you think tech has had to do with actually bringing these numbers together?
I don't know if you like what I have to say. So actually, how we started off the very first time we were collecting this data, one of our partners in Africa Data Hub called Open Cities Lab, they have this AI called Dexter that can extract data from media articles online. And so what we did is that we looked through the series of words that keep on being used in headlines talking about women being killed, and we put that into Dexter, and Dexter extracted, all the articles that have this. I don't know if this ends as a happy story. So what we ended up finding is, because we know some of the headlines, some of the stories that have been then used, so that was our way of verifying and making sure that everything had been captured. But actually, because of paywalls, that exist in a lot of these media platforms online, Dexter was not able to pick out the content behind the paywalls.
Oh, wow.
So then what we had to do was use a Google advanced search to be able to pick out everything that Dexter had not picked out. So yes, a lot of technology aided the beginning of the process, but there was still some sort of, I don't know what to call it, manual, because also Google advanced is advanced, but there was a human approach also to it to just make sure that it's comprehensively covered. Yeah.
So what do you think are the limitations then that you found within that? Because I'm trying to see if there is anything that tech could do to us right now, especially within this battle around femicide, especially since this is a country that does not seem to get it right. What are some of the limitations do you think are there? And what do you think you might want to see around the tech spaces that can aid in that work?
I think definitely content moderation, because we've gone beyond the data to tell some of the stories about the data on platforms like TikTok, and just the reactions you see from Kenyans all over the country. Like, majority of it is negative. Majority of it is actually supporting
pro-femicide,
what is happening in the country. So we've actually had to go through, like, every time we post something, we have to delete like a whole bunch of comments. I mean, it's really tedious. Sometimes you don't end up removing maybe all the terrible comments that exist, but I don't know how we can be able to push more positive content and make sure that and make sure that any content that is pushing such a negative narrative is not distributed widely.
Because moderation should be happening at a company level, and plus most of these perpetrators are actually announcing of what they want to do in social media platforms before they actually get to do it.
That's the thing. That's the crazy thing, that you're literally confessing before the crime.
And recording, like with the South African case where he literally justified his
Yeah.
as killing the woman, literally justifying on the video why he's doing exactly that. And then we have a lot of men coming to tell him, yeah, I understand you. I would have done the same, you know. where do
How
you
do we
take
even use the word justice with that?
oh
There's no
God.
justification.
Do you think then maybe data protection becomes important right now more than ever, especially as we share this issues on victims to protect them as well, even if they're dead? Do you think there's a way? Do you have any fear with the type of data that you're handling right now?
Yeah, I mean, even when we're handling the court data, because this time we included court data,
Yeah.
we realized even the court, even like institutions like Kenya Law Reports, are very keen on ensuring they protect the names, especially of female minors.
Yeah.
So you'll find in cases that involved a minor, they won't put the name. They're going to put like the initials. I mean, this is a young person who has their entire life ahead of them. I don't think you want that following you everywhere where you go. I have been asked that question because our database has pictures of the victims, the adult victims. I have been asked, like, did you get permission from the families? And I think that was a very valid question to ask. I think it was actually from the team of Usikimia who asked me that. And legally, when you pursue it, the answer that you hear is not necessarily a way to protect them, because legally, a dead person has no rights.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a bit of a, I don't know. It's a very tricky situation, because on one side, you want to bring the data to life. You want to show people that this is not just a number, that this was an actual person, a mother, a sister, a friend,
they had a whole life,
was killed. And that's what we're trying to do by portraying and putting their pictures and their names. Like, you know, even when we protest, we say, please say their names. This was this person. But yeah, you know, it was actually at that point that I stopped to think there is perhaps a negative side to this, and we should involve the families in making the final decision in how we approach
sometimes
that.
Families don't want to be involved in that because it's already a massacre within their hearts that their child has been murdered. You can imagine now having to parade the face of the child. And then I think even the stigma that comes after when we already profile the cases, as much as we're trying to raise accountability on them. I don't know, where do we draw the line? Sometimes
it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one because you have to show the intensity of the problem, and you also have to humanize the story. Beyond the numbers. So it's a tricky one.
What do you think you want this data to do? Especially being the lead researcher, pushing and finding. And I know, especially since we walk around this space, seeing these horrible stories and seeing how brutal the murders have become over time. What would you want this data to do to make an impact, to bring change?
The end goal, or what would I say, the ultimate goal that I have with this data is to make it go down. And how I want the numbers to go down is by portraying the patterns in the data. I'm hoping that it's going to push people to behave differently and push those who are accountable to aggressively address this issue. So for starters, if we are seeing that majority of these women are being killed by their husbands or their boyfriends, and most of them are being killed at home, at the moment, you know, I'm hoping that as many women who see this data out there, who are in a situation where their life has been threatened or where they're being physically abused, will see this and find a safe place to go,
to live,
which also shows the justification for safe homes.
That
not everybody has their mother's home, their sister's home, their whatever place that they can go and hide and be safe. So for loads of these women out there who don't have that option, giving them the option of having a safe place to go. So I'm hoping that when they see this, they're going to be like, I need to leave, and I need to leave now. And hopefully that can be the starting point to these numbers declining.
That's true. So I wanted us to dive deep into the analysis of this data and just bring out the darkness that we are now getting to see. And you know, it's very, and I think we're having this discussion earlier, it's very funny how the whole of 2024 was pure advocacy, aggressive advocacy, us telling Kenyans, this thing is real. Femicide is here within the country. We're losing children, mothers, grandmothers. And we're seeing 2024 was also the bloody spike.
It was worse.
And it's the worst year on record.
Yeah.
And I was just going through the key findings. And this is an analysis of around 930 cases, I believe, from 2016 all the way till 2024.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a staggering 170 cases in 2024
alone. And also, just to make it very clear, this is underreported because remember, this is, when you look at the court data, this is everything, all the cases that are not ongoing, but there's already been a judgment. That's what Kenya Law Reports has records on. And for the media, it's the stories that the media picked up. So we are missing out on other stories.
So many other
already, even with that underreporting, you're still seeing such a crazy increase in
with a direct reminder that we don't have Kware.
Exactly. And that does not include Kware, of which we might never really know what the real number of Kware is.
And you see, we have 365 days in a year.
Yeah.
Half that year was pure murder.
Was murder. That's crazy. Yeah.
And you see, now when I think about it, when you did the data, what was our youngest victim and our oldest?
We had a 2-year-old. The oldest, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was over 60. I think it was 65.
The Kasarani case.
Yes,
right?
I think it was 65 years old. Yeah.
So you can imagine we're dealing with a range of 2 to probably 65.
Yeah, we had about close to 10% of the cases was either a very young
babies
person or a very old woman.
And it's so funny because again, this 170 is also double.
Yes.
The number that we had from
2023. Yeah.
And 2023 actually.
Yes, 2023. Yeah, because 2023 we had 95. Yeah.
What is the justice system looking like?
So it's slow. On average, cases are taking like 4 years to be closed. That's from the first court mentioned up to the point of the verdict. Yeah. So on average, it's 4 years. Of course, some go up to 5 years.
To 5, 10,
some 7, it's longer.
Like for Lucy Jambi.
Yeah. So it's slow. But I will say it does look like the courts take it seriously.
Yeah.
So if you look at the number of convictions are actually going up.
Yeah.
So if you compare even 2023 and 2024, we had perhaps more people taking the cases to court, and we had more convictions coming up. The only cases that come up as acquittals, which were, I think, about 18%, it's usually maybe police. In most cases, it's a police issue.
Yeah.
So you'll find investigation was not strong enough. The police did not provide good enough evidence. The police maybe halted the investigation before, it was complete. And so the court was not able to convict these people. So there are acquittals, but majority are convictions. And also to show like how some of the people working in the justice system are taking it seriously. Usually when somebody pleads guilty, it's usually a case for the judge to reduce the sentence, right? So many times you find like maybe if you plead guilty, we won't give you as many years. But we're seeing in 2024, regardless of whether they plead guilty or not, you do the time.
Yeah.
So the seriousness the court is taking it with, helps. But I think also with everything the justice system is facing, they are fighting
withdrawals.
They don't have security. I don't know what's happening.
Ooh.
So, I'm not surprised to see that the cases are taking this long. Maybe if we had more judges, if we had more support from the other arms of the government, then we would be seeing it a better
I'm trying to
situation.
Think through Lucy Jambi's case, and I was sharing with you, they drenched 2 liters of sulfuric acid inside her.
Sorry.
Lucy Jambi's case in Kiambu, where they drenched 2 liters of sulfuric acid inside her. And it had to be pressure for the judge to feel, I have to say the correct things. But I think I also support that in that with that constant pressure that we've been putting in court, we're seeing also most judges referring to the cases as femicide.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the reality is now, again, the fact that femicide is not in the Constitution.
Mm.
You know, so most of the judges are asking, okay, even if I'm giving them sentence, I only have a paraphrase of murder. I only have a paraphrase of manslaughter.
Yes.
What happens to femicide in its case? Because it's homicide too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's separating narrative whereby we try and bring this discussion towards the fact that femicide is very intentional. I mean, the Isli case, this lady ended up, we saw the postmortem, she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Right? So you killed the mother and an unborn child. And this is somebody who was your partner. Like, it has gotten to a point whereby in Huruma, a man is walking with a bag stashed with a 19-year-old wife.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that girl was married off at 19. No.
It was a 3-week marriage.
So he killed her after 3 weeks.
Yeah. It was a 3-week marriage. I mean, I had that on the radio. I'm not verified.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
regardless.
Yeah.
And you have stashed most of the body parts in a bag you're going to throw, and then we get back to the house, and then there's more of her intestines and skin
Oh my God.
under the bed. The house is full of blood. I beg to ask, when these women are screaming for help in the homes, because most of these murders are happening at home, what is really happening to our society? And why are we made to be accustomed to death to a point? It's like, okay, ye wana chapwa. It's that ignorance until akufe.
There are some cultures we just have to unlearn completely. We have to unlearn this thing of kitu ya watu wawili.
Usiingililie.
Yeah, usiwaingilie. You're going to wait for your neighbor to die.
To die until you
and then now you'll be like, oh, maybe I should have said something, or maybe I should have offered her a place to sleep, you know, until
everything was okay. But equally, when do we support victims to leave? You know, I've gotten, I think we need to reach to a point, and I'm so glad the data you're releasing is so profound, and it brings this so close to case. The targeted victims are also very young women.
Yes, yeah. Majority of them are between 18 to 35. Like, they have their whole future ahead of them.
So, what are those patterns? You know, I've tried to think.
Yeah.
What is that between that age group that makes them
the target? Well, it's also that a lot of these murders are being done by partners, intimate partners.
Yeah.
And if you look at most of the perpetrators,
they're very young men. 60% of actually the perpetrators.
I mean, we're talking about a problem of relationships among young people.
Yeah.
What is happening with relationships with young people?
What have we seen from our parents
where are they going to the extent of killing each other? There's something going wrong with relationships. I don't have the answer to that. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. Our parents had a whole influx of domestic violence.
Yeah.
That has been prolonged in the society for such a long time. And now we're having our generation having an extent of murder.
Yeah.
Because haven't we all been raised seeing our parents whooping each other, right?
I don't know.
And that's the only thing.
Like, I can only speak to what I see in the data, but the data shows very clearly there is something wrong with relationships amongst young people. Whether it's something that comes from, you know, what they picked from their parents, or it's something that's happening in the society now. I mean, I do have my theories when I look at the problems young men are facing in our country.
At the same time.
I mean, every other day someone is being abducted, someone doesn't have a job, someone
Unemployment.
They have a lot of pressures. I do have my theories, but I can't say that the data specifically like validates
attaches to
like
that. So
some of those cultural
mental health.
Yeah.
So, and you know, it's so, and that's why even the fight on femicide really cannot go one way when it comes to solution making.
Exactly.
It's on all fronts.
It's on
an
so many fronts.
Thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Because again, I think people don't also understand that femicide is not instant. Even the consecutive, you know, abuse that happens in the home is still femicide.
Yes.
When a woman finally goes to hospital and we find a blood clot at the back of her head because she's been beaten before, it is femicide. When you have a prolonged exposure to, like the case that we had where this principal, you know, beat this girl and the dad in front of everybody, and now all of a sudden she goes back home and she commits suicide.
Let me just put it on silent.
Femicide does appear to come in so many different ways, right? But anyway, I think as we conclude too,
so just to confirm on that, so many of those cases become femicide. So we're seeing a pattern where where there has been a history of gender-based violence. Many of these cases that become femicides, when you look back, you find, oh, there was actually a history of violence in that relationship. Yeah. So true, if we do arrest the problem at the point of violence, then, you know, many of these cases would not have become femicides. And which is why I keep saying, the moment you are being threatened, don't think twice. Leave.
It's not the time to be Jesus Christ and forgive.
It is not. It is not. And that's not what women are being preached to out here.
You're told
people are being preached to, marriage is difficult, familiar, but you're being beaten. Your life is at stake. So no,
and
women need to be told to leave.
Threats,
yeah.
There's another trend that's coming up that I'm very conscious about, mapangale.
Oh my God.
You know, I saw that thing immediately when we were from the march and I was like,
I've seen someone dancing it here. I was like, oh no.
Kenyans.
I need to go talk to that person. Yeah.
Mapangale looks like it's such a funny thing to do on TikTok, but in a country where femicide, it was such an insult.
It's funny.
It's not.
It's not funny.
And the
majority of these women are being killed by either being stabbed or being hacked. The hacking has gone up.
Yeah, I saw.
In 2024,
6%
compared to previous years. And we're here laughing and dancing and joking about Mapangale. It's not funny. I want that song off the radio and all the TikTok dances and videos like off. Like,
and you see how
deleted completely,
it's
right?
Cutting someone.
It's literally how the women are being killed. It's not funny. It's not funny. We just need to kill this whole Mapangale thing.
7% increase also in sexual assault.
Yeah. I think generally there's a pattern towards more gruesomeness.
Yeah. It's becoming more vile.
It's becoming even more. Yeah, exactly. It's becoming even more vile. It's like, I'll assault you, then I'll kill you.
Yeah.
I'll kill you, then I'll dismember your body.
Yeah.
We even had cases of acid. We had people pouring acid on the face. We had beheading. You know, you might not dismember the whole body, but you behead.
Yeah.
We had like so many like gruesome murders in 2024.
And you can imagine with most of these murders being intimate partners, at what point that the person you love the most want to cut you into pieces?
It's such a thin line between love and hate, it seems.
Yeah.
But like whatever is pushing young men
to do it,
to go to that extent, it almost feels like we have a mental problem as a nation.
Yeah. Because the Isli case, you know, he boiled those kids. You know, when you reach, you sit down and you think through these things, and you're like, for you to convince your conscious, to kill, cut into pieces, boil.
You get to that level. Like, what? You can't be okay. You cannot be mentally okay. You can't be okay. Those are not. And we're dismissing these things. When people react like that on social media and we act like it's normal, like there's a mental problem.
Yeah.
Like we need to, I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do something.
I know for the cases that don't get to the prevalence of media, we had this, like I think I had shared with you, we had these children, and Western County, it's a whole other thing. And it's a land grab issue. And you see, that's why all these femicide cases are connected. It's a land grab issue. And so when the mother asks this family, you know, I want my husband is dead, I have these children, I need that land, we need to continue farming. And they're like, okay, you're trying to, you know, ask for things here. So they rape the children, cut them into pieces, and they hang them on a tree. And a week later, with the slowness and just the misconduct of these femicide cases, they killed the mom too. And you see, now you're looking at, this is also a country where murder is so normal now, right? We are being groomed to accept femicide. Really?
That's really scary.
Yeah. And our victims being 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
1-year-olds. Yeah.
And the extent to which you make it like as gruesome as you possibly
And it's a
can.
child. Why would two
Yeah.
men want to rape a child at the same time? Child who's 3 years of age. Why would we want? And you see, that's why I really got tired of sugarcoating, especially within the work, because you're like, let's protect everyone. No, this protective language has put women in this shambles in the first place. Saying, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's as is. Women are being cut into pieces.
Yeah.
Women are being raped. Children too.
Yeah.
And there's this data that was coming up that I was trying to tell Kenyans, it's not a gender war anymore. It's a human rights war, because a couple of men have been victims of femicide too,
Yes.
where the son is trying to protect the mom and the dad is like, I'm going to kill the mom. And then immediately I kill you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're having young boys as well being killed in these
Yeah.
gruesome femicide cases.
Yeah.
And so it's quickly a human issue. The molestations and the child rape that is happening, especially in these households where these women are being killed too. You find the son has been molested for years.
Yes.
But the patriarchal systems and so many cultural, systems that are going on where the boy cannot say a thing.
It's so true. But I've come to realize the moment you say certain things, certain words, 1, femicide, 2, patriarchy, 3, misogyny, there's a whole army of people who label you a feminist and dismiss anything and everything that you say. So I'm even like getting to a point, unfortunately, I mean, it's the fact of the matter, it's the reality, but I'm getting to a point, I'm like, okay, how can I say this in a different way that it's not automatically being dismissed because of the terminology that I'm using?
Because how else?
Yeah.
And then I think the point of dilution, I stopped doing it because I realized, again, it's very difficult for us to report on the child murders and the child rapes because there's no language.
Yeah.
Same way we do not have sexual education happening, sexual reproductive health and rights education also happening amongst children. So they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot of this, especially the femicide cases we have handled the whole of last year, starting with Kware. It was madness. You're seeing even the body when you look at it, because I was at City Mortuary, it's not an old woman. No, it's a teenager. It's a girl, right? And you see, it becomes, who convinces these kids to get married?
Yeah.
Who sells them out? Because they don't go alone.
Yeah.
It's an economic problem because most of these families, even when we saw through COVID, there's no money in the house, we have a daughter.
Yeah, I mean, sex work is supported by many mothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
The realities of this country are getting, and then look at whatever we're having as governance too. Every single thing does plow back to make femicide such a crisis. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, given a chance to, if you were to see a better country or a better case, what would that look like?
It would start with men being at the forefront fighting this problem. Because I mean, this is, even when we're debating about who should talk about this from our team, should it be a man or should it be a woman? And we're like, why are we debating about whether it should be a man or should it be a woman? Lives are being lost. And this is a problem that affects both ways. And we need the men talking about it, especially talking to their fellow young men, so that we can address this. So I want to start by saying a lot of that happening more and more. I want to see women getting the courage to walk away. I want to see more people investing in those spaces that they can walk away to. And I'm hoping by the time, it's next year, we don't have a show because it's no longer a crisis.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
This is such a heavy topic every time. And and it's never an end solution because it's such a web. But I'm so happy with the work that you do. I mean, now we're seeing it dilute to numbers that can be worked on. And I'm hoping programmatically we can start seeing change happening within the country, and so many other more people investing in the work that you do, because without those numbers, we're not seeing patterns. We're forced to offer and sell a narrative. And it's a narrative of fear, because again, now we're even seeing pregnant mothers saying, me, if I'm pregnant with a girl, I'm aborting. Because they're scared, right? So it's it's a walk, it's a marathon for sure, not a
Yeah,
sprint, but at
yeah.
least we're here starting.
And it needs a lot of runners.
Yeah.
Lots of runners.
All of us need to be
Yeah,
running.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but this was such a great conversation. A very heavy discussion. I think I'm trying to hold back my tears as well, considering us we've been exposed to this for
Yeah.
far much
You've
worse.
seen it
Yeah.
live. Yeah.
And it's not something we're supposed to be accustomed to, but here we are. And I think just seeing Odipo Dev keep doing this work, and of course, together with your partners, Africa Uncensored, Africa Data Hub, it's so good to see tech-oriented initiatives, one way or another, using the opportunity, especially with the type of large-scale data you can be able to go through and just being part of the work.
Yeah.
And within the work, especially within SpeakUp, when we talk about tech accountability, we look at that as well.
Yeah.
How does technology do assist in social norms and phenomenons and change the narrative one way or another? How do we protect
That's
people?
amazing.
Yeah. And so seeing you guys take that front line has been very, very impactful. And that's why having you today was such a phenomenal blessing and an opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a lovely conversation. Once again, this is Speak Up Africa. I have been your host, Zaha Ndimuli. See you next time.